Adrian Orr, there's a long form interview. It's about 20 minutes on TVNZ Plus. You can check it out for yourself. But there was a news story about him tonight. And one of the things he basically says is he's annoyed, or he thinks that the rental investment group who borrowed, which is not necessarily Luxon, but his ilk, when the rates were down to fatten their portfolio, were using the low rates for the wrong reason. The low rates were there to keep businesses alive and help people, and some people just use it to fatten their portfolio. Let's have a listen.
Our decades-long infatuation with the housing market needs to end. That's the call from the Reserve Bank Governor. In an exclusive interview with business correspondent Katie Bradford, Adrian Orr talks.
Famous left-wing spokesperson for the left-wing organisation, the Reserve Bank, Chewie. Those famous lefty communist socialists, those guys.
Interest rates, government spending, and how he doesn't regret how it's all panned out.
It's going.
Cast your memory back to November 2021. The auctions were all virtual, but the house prices were eye-watering. As the pandemic hit, the Reserve Bank and government threw itself into their so-called path of least regrets, pumping money into the economy amid fears of an economic collapse.
The Reserve Bank was repeatedly warned that it could push up house prices and deepen inequality. Wasn't that exactly what happened?
Well, what happened was that we saved the economy from deep recession.
Adrian Orr telling Q&A it's what people did with the money that disappoints him.
Too many people just saw that as an opportunity to punt or stag the property market. Other people used the cash flow to stay in business or stay afloat as human beings.
I mean, Governor of the Reserve Bank, Chewie, you know, him and Jacinda were the leaders of the socialist movement at university or something. I don't think so. If these guys are seeing it and these guys are going, dudes, people, this is not a productive investment. This is not gaining the country wealth. And then also going, he didn't quite say this, but it's kind of immoral how people did this during COVID and they used it to fatten their portfolios. It's basically what he's saying. He's saying people were using it to keep their businesses alive, whilst other people were just getting richer off it.
Yeah, I do have an issue with this. In a way, it's awfully naive to think, you know, it was a different time. Like, rapid decisions were made. And it was definitely a case of what's the most good we can do in the quickest amount of time. And the answer was money machine goes burr, keep people employed, keep people paying their mortgages and their rent, keep the businesses alive so we can come out of this without a huge dip. Without that, there would have been mass unemployment and all of these employers would have gone, hey, government, our payroll is now your problem in a much bigger, more immediate way. But I think it was naive to think that there weren't people that were in the financial position to take advantage of it and to think that through good graces that they weren't going to do exactly what we're talking about here, that they were going to pump that free money into unproductive things, selfish things. You know, they could have put it into businesses, but that's not the safe investment. That's not what we do here in New Zealand. Everybody talks about the risks of our low productivity, but we keep buying and selling houses to each other.
Yeah. All right, let's keep seeing what he's got to say. He's probably got a, I saw a text go past, it was quite funny, which we might use, because, you know, if you've got a choice between good news, solid commentary or fun, we just go with the fun, because this is what he'll maybe wrap up with, I think. You know, do you hear the people sing? Do you hear the people sing? Thank you, Excel, dear. Good line.
You know, this infatuation with the housing market is just too much driven by the media.
Do you agree then that obsession with housing has turned into an obsession with the OCR and interest rates?
I'd be thinking more about why aren't people investing in things other than just housing all of the time?
He wants the government to invest more too in infrastructure.
We're at one of the lower ends of public debt. Relative in the OECD. The government needs to spend a lot more in infrastructure and investment, and it needs
world famous socialist, this guy, you know, world famous.
Like this is what's been said and ignored by this government. They keep on hammering the fact that we're massively in debt, and it is a lie. It is a disproven lie, not factually correct, not backed up by anything. It's a fucking lie. And
Well-
if they borrowed money to build infrastructure like hospitals, buy long-term assets like ferries, to build housing for its citizens, that would all be good uses of that money. Giving it away in a tax cut is economic vandalism.
What I would say, Chewie, not to give them any credit, it's not about that. It's not necessarily a lie. What it is the media is not pressuring them with the next obvious question. If I told you, Chewie, that my overdraft was $10 million in debt, that would be huge. That would be a lot of money. If my net worth was $1 billion, then it wouldn't matter. Yeah. There's that other part of the conversation they're not saying. Yes, we may have a lot of debt, but what are we worth, and what is it? What are we leveraged for it? That's the part that's not then getting through, which is what he's saying. So that's the thing that those with access need to be then pushing back on. And remember, Mikey Sherman the other night, are you going to borrow lots and lots of money again using the National Party talking point? You know, this is the responsibility of the media. They're the fourth estate. They're supposed to hold the powerful to account, especially the government, and they're not doing a good job.
Source capital and crowd in investment far more effectively.
Adrian Orr is in the middle of his second 5-year term. He's faced criticism of his handling of monetary policy, first for keeping rates low as inflation crept up in 2021, and more recently for taking too long to cut, as Kiwis felt the pain of high interest rates on top of a cost of living crisis.
You know, the worst mistake we could have made was to have done all the hard work to get on top of inflation and then let it go again.
The bank deliberately forced the country into recession and rising unemployment. He takes no responsibility for those job losses.
Those people who are going to be most impacted by inflation are generally the most vulnerable parts of society. So, you know, keeping low and stable inflation is the only and most important part we can do.
But while inflation is down, global prices of energy, food and goods are swinging wildly.
I've never seen more nervous central bankers around the world because of the climate change, the geopolitical tensions, the tariff trade barriers.
As it stands, barring any major shocks, interest rates are down and forecasts are on the up.
We are talking about 2.5% economic growth. We're past our darkest period.
Confident it won't just be survive till 25, but thrive in 25.
Of course,
Katie Bradford.
Because you've got to have some kind of alliteration or something at the end of every story. You know, it does. I'm not defending the Reserve Bank, but it does seem they're in a no-win. You know, that they were too long to do this, and they were too long to do this, which was the exact opposite. And it's like, I just think that. Look, Ho and Angel says it, right? This is it. Nikki No Boats, la 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 la, can't hear you experts. I mean, no one's ever gonna accuse the governor of the Reserve Bank of being a lefty liberal, of being a socialist, of being someone that's about, you know, spreading the wealth. That's never going to be who they are. Yet they're now saying it as well.
Yeah.
What now?
Maybe it's because Nicola Willis studied English, which is in the humanities. You know, that's why it has no value.
She was the one. She was the one that ruined the humanities. Now everyone finally looked at it and go, look, if it produces this, let's get rid of it. She was the last one across.
I mean, part of me wants to, like, when he was quite detached talking about, well, yeah, like if we get a recession, obviously the people on the lower end of the spectrum are going to eat shit. I kind of feel for it because I feel like the Reserve Bank governor is more of a mechanic or a technician, right? It's his job to look at monetary policy and not necessarily look at the human cost of it. That's the job of the political party. That's the job of the government at the time. You know, he's made a decision of, like, literally what we talked about all the way through COVID was about flattening the curve. He is constantly fighting the economy going absolutely out of kilter. You know, we need, what we're going to do is inflationary, but the government has told us to do this because the people are important. This is going to cause a recession, but we need to do that to get the inflationary measures under control. Those are the two, I guess, levers that the Reserve Bank have to pull. So I get that detachment all the way through Jacinda's government, is that there was a lot of, I guess, felt and directed empathy towards what people were going through.
Yeah.
You know, in all fairness, not all people, some of them wanted to go on a camping trip. Whereas from this government, there is zero consideration. We went into this saying that unemployment was going to go up.
Yeah.
And it was going to go up in an environment where they were already setting the kindling of talking about benefit leeches and all of that, you know, benefit sanctions and all of that. They were setting that environment, and that's where we have gone. I forget the name of the guest that we had on that said, "Hey, look, this will probably go up to about 4% unemployment. Anything above that is a political choice."
Craig Greene.
Craig Greene, that's right.
I think he said 4.5 is understandable. Above that is the government choice.
Yeah, what are we just steamrolling through 5.5%?
We're in the fours, I think. I'll have a look. Keep talking. I'll have a look.
Yeah. So that's a political choice, and it is. It is in an environment where the government, when they're talking about their economic policy, will say things like, "We are spending more money than ever before on health," and they're not putting it in its context of inflation. Yes, we are spending a higher number than ever before, but that number is worth less.
Yeah.
So what we are seeing in government not giving the people the context of a massive underfunding of these things. When we are now talking about frontline health workers losing their jobs, nurses not getting hired, promises of student loan forgiveness for nurses being ummed and ahed away, that sort of thing, we are getting very, very poor value from a government that wants to stand on a soapbox and said, "We are the only government that understands business and economic matters," while at the same time showing to everyone that they are eating the box of crayons, that they should show us the direction that they're going. They don't know what they're doing. The madmen are in charge of the asylum. And this week has my brain screaming, going, "We can't take 3 more years of this. We can't sustain it. We can't take it." And the most optimistic that people go is, "Oh, this has to be a one-term government. We just have to wait." How much of this, how much bad news are we going to get before Christmas, before all of these guys go away on holiday? What pain is on the way?
And remember, team, I don't want to be the negator of bad tidings, but it's statistically very unlikely that New Zealand has, whoever it is, a one-term government. I mean, I think these guys are doing the best they can to be as close as they can, but I'm just saying, statistically speaking, you know, we did talk 2 nights ago about how the political cycle normally goes and the ebbs and flows, and these guys are doing, it's not a flow, it's like a water slide. You know, that's how fast they're moving. So maybe they'll receive that ebb to their flow more quickly, and it will be one term. But I'm gonna keep saying this, people. We don't rest on our laurels. If you want this to be a one-term government, then you need to be doing things actively. If Chloe was here, she'd be saying, organize. You know, you need to do stuff. You need to organize. One of the things you can do is we've all been told very, very simply how to do submissions at the moment. We've been educated on how to do it. Go to Action Station and figure it out. Start doing things. Educate yourself. Organize. Because without a huge groundswell, pardon the pun, of organization, statistically speaking, you're likely to get a second term, this government. Yep. That's all I'm saying.
I've got another way to motivate the people here, Pat.
Is it with stickers?
Chat. I know how you work. Okay. You've heard Pat quite clearly say it can't be done. He stuck his flag in the ground and said there's no possible way to do it. It'll really upset him if we make him wrong.
Yeah.
So get out, organise, put your money where your mouth is, join a political party, campaign, agitate. But yeah, like the other thing that I thought of the other day when we were talking about how many nurses have gone on strike is at what point does it become a countrywide action? We've had a hikoi, we've had a massive nurses protest, which is probably the first of many. I know you can't legally call a general strike anymore.
Just eating some crayons.
Don't know why you've done that.
Because he's eating crayons.
What the fuck is wrong with this? Oh, it's AI. Gotcha. Yeah. It doesn't look like Nicola. It looks more like Boris Johnson eating some crayons.
Boris Johnson as a child eating crayons.
Okay. These are the things that people are talking about, though. I know I brought it up a few months ago that it's been decades since New Zealand's last general strike. It was at the end of the 70s and things were very, very bad. Certainly the environment that we find ourselves in at the moment, it also feels capital V very, very bad. I think the global conditions that this government is looking at, they're not long-term thinkers. We've discussed this on the show many, many times. You are looking at the countries in Asia getting crazier by the day. You look at Trump kicking off a tariff trade war. You look at Chinese expansion and maybe running headfirst into AUKUS. You look at potentially a growing European war or a religious-based war in the Middle East. All of these things are very, very bad. And I think our current government's thoughts that we're insulated somehow from all of them and that we don't need to prepare for that and that we don't need infrastructure that will stand up to the Southern Fault going at some time in our lifetimes is bizarre. It is Captain on the deck of the Titanic shit. She'll never sink. We're a little island. Nobody knows where we are.